with a round of applause. Join me as we welcome God's choice servant, my father, Apostle Michael Oropko.
In Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5, Jeremiah was born into a family of priests. But God, at this time, was looking for a prophet. The job of a priest is to carry out oblations, rituals in the tabernacle, matters of atonement, matters of legislation for God. But God was looking for a spokesman, somebody who can hear him and speak for him. But he was from a lineage of priests. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. It's good to be a priest. It's a loving thing to be a priest. It's approved of God to be a priest. But if what you are doing is not from God, even if it is good, it's a disadvantage in your destiny. Some people think encounters only take sinners to the kingdom. One of the greatest crises of destiny is dislocation. Because there are many people who should be politicians. They are in a seminary college. Because it's a season of revival, they think everybody will be a preacher. And they will do seminary and fail in destiny. There are many people who should be in the business world. They are on their way to Pakistan to intercede for the nation. Prayer for nations is good, but that's not written for them. And so in this scripture, God began to speak to Jeremiah. I know by reason of culture and ancestry, you want to be a priest. It's good. Everybody should be a priest. But before you were formed in your mother's womb, before you came forth, I ordained you and I sanctified you to be a prophet. So you are not a priest. You are a prophet. You hear and speak for me. And you are not just any prophet. In case you read about the prophets of old and you pick one and adopt it for yourself, it says your own dimension of the prophetic is to uproot and to plant. So I use you as a bulldozer. So this man may not give word of knowledge to anybody, but this man will be a builder of nations. Because in Ghana, there are those who can look at you and say, yesterday you went to so place around this time, did this, they will narrate it. They are forensic. That's beautiful. There's another prophet who may not give one person word of knowledge. But when he's praying, he will come out in the daytime and stand and say, this government will not come back to power again. And he will go and sleep. You may not even know that one. In fact, you may not call him a prophet because he didn't describe the color of your singlet. But you see, there are different orders. And so this guy uproots nations and he plants nations. If he didn't have an encounter, he would have followed his father to be carrying incense to the tabernacle. Every day he will butcher a goat and put the hand of the sinner on top and confess his sin and carry it and pour on the altar. That's not his job. Only encounter opened his eyes. And so the first thing encounters do is that they activate your ordination. That unique ordination that you carry that makes you different from the 7.73 billion people in the world, it will take an encounter to isolate it. In fact, if you don't have an encounter, the many mentors you have will become the confusion of your destiny. Encounters will help you to find the right mentors. Because there are many people doing good things and great things. But encounter will be the one to tell you those who are in your tribe. So that you will know the direction that you will go. And so, a man who does not have encounters does not have callings. Because encounters come to awaken callings. I told you already from Genesis 12, it said, get thee out of thy country. Get thee out of thy kindred. Get thee out of thy father's house. Speaking to Abraham, come to the land that I will show you. It said, in thee shall the nations be blessed. So Abraham knew what he was called to do. Paul was on his way to Damascus, arresting and beating Christians, thinking he was serving God. Because the Pharisees and the Sadducees had brainwashed him that this new set of people drink blood. They are against God and we must kill all of them. The Bible says when they killed Stephen, he was there consenting to it, thinking he was serving God. But while he was on his way to Damascus, in Acts chapter 9, verse 4 and 5, the Bible says a bright light shone from heaven, and God spoke to him. He said, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? What he called service in the realm of God is called persecution. Why? And he said, who are you, Lord? He said, I am Jesus Christ, whom thou persecutest. He said, but arise, go into the city, you'll be told what to do. So a man can be doing and laboring with all his life. He doesn't even know what to do. That means that thing he's doing with all his heart and all his labor is the wrong thing. That's why I tell people, if you are in the wrong direction, speed is not an advantage. He said, go into the city, you'll be told. You saw somebody praying and built a city. You too, you go and start praying. Because your goal is to build a city, have the same honor that person has. Your ambition is mundane. Because if it is God, it will not trigger into ambition. It will be burdens. Burdens that will help the nation and people and glorify God. Go into the city. He took encounters. Moses was keeping his father's sheep, father-in-law's sheep. The Bible said until he came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And he saw a bush burning that was not consumed. That was when God told him he would go back to Egypt. And he would tell Pharaoh, let my people go, that they may worship me. And Jesus, the Son of God, was a carpenter for 30 years. I wish I saw one of the beds that he designed. A proper carpenter for 30 years. He was popular. Everybody knew him as the son of Joseph, the carpenter. I wonder what he will be doing when he held the wood. Because he created the wood in the first place. Now he's trying to manage. Until the heavens open. And the Bible said in Mark 1:12, the Spirit drove him to the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. So encounters activate ordination. Please don't call yourself a name that is not given to you on the mountain of God. Because it's popular to be called a prophet or an apostle does not mean you are one. Because it's popular to be called a pastor or a teacher does not mean you are one. If God gives you a fellowship, just pray there. You people should edify yourself. Leave title out of it. You don't need that title. Because the idea is not title, it's job description. And it is that encounter that will furnish that job description. And even if you are told that, wait until the presbytery recognizes it and ordains you. It's a sign that you are not pursuing an ambition. And it also brings accuracy and balance to the body of Christ. There are many people with titles who have never been ordained. If that call is genuine, be patient. They will see it. You can't hide it. They will see it. Are we together? And so on the protocol of the calling, the first thing an encounter does is that it activates your ordination. On that same mountain of encounter, something happens. Strategies are given. Or better still, divine mandate is given. Let me explain that first. The reason there is so much competition in the church is because men have no encounters and men have no well-defined mandates. If what was shown you on the mountain is for you to travel around and represent God, why will I be moved if you're on every poster if that is not what was told me? If both of us had encounters and I was told that my job is to pray for the nation from a prayer mountain, whether you are in America today, in Congo tomorrow, in London next tomorrow, it doesn't mean anything to me. Because in my own mandate, I was already told to squat somewhere praying. I will only be troubled if the grace for prayer is reducing. Because the grace to travel is not allocated to me. When my mandate was defined, I was asked to pray. And so I will only have a problem if I'm not praying. But because people don't have encounters and their mandates are not delivered, people are trying to do what is popular. And so if one person begins to organize weekly meetings, everybody begins to organize weekly meetings. If one person is traveling about, because they feel that that traveling is more popular and bringing more honor, you'll find men of God go to different conferences. They are not going to be blessed. They are going to exchange numbers with other pastors and explain their ministry. So everybody they sit with, there are 6 sessions in the conference. They sit with people who look clean. Hello, sir, how are you doing? God bless you. My God, how is the ministry? It's doing well. My name is Apostle this. My name is Prophet this. By the grace of God, I had a church in New Accra, and God is helping us. We did this, we did that. Please, let's exchange number. If it is the will of God, we will connect. Oh, God, relax. It's not the will of God, it's your will. And so they leave one conference with 8 phone numbers. As they reach home, they send a message. My God, what a conference we had. It was an honor meeting with you. Thank you so much. I feel this connection in my spirit. I feel this strong connection in my spirit. I don't know. I'll be in your city next month. If you have a meeting, I'll love to attend. But even if you don't have a meeting, we can just gather, pray together. So that him too will have posters. Meanwhile, this is an intercessor. Because he doesn't have a mandate, he loves evangelists. He will now organize 3 crusades. Out of these 3 crusades, he will run out of the city because he's owing the bank 2 million. Meanwhile, the person who is the evangelist, somebody dashed him a truck. Somebody bought crusade equipment. He says there is a crusade. People are sowing from different nations. He doesn't even know them. He doesn't even have enough time to call them and say thank you. They partners on their own. God puts it in their heart. They take their money and give him to do the crusade. Meanwhile, you, God didn't tell you to do crusade. The little money God gave you, that you should have bought a generator and be praying so that where there is light, you gather that money together, you carry your father's land, go and give him in the bank as collateral, and you borrow money. And when you organize 2 crusades, you have to run from the city because you would have stolen from people and you can't repay. This is why ministers have high blood pressure. When you ask them, they say the ministry is hard. They mean the ministry is not hard. There is labor in ministry, but at the same time, God gives rest. I know the face of trials. If I had time, I would have taught you the classes in the school of process. But I'm telling you that many people put themselves in trouble because they are not walking by their mandate. It's not relevance in heaven. Not know you. If God says you are right, you are right. The one who gives the reward is not the crowd. The one who gives the reward is the one who gave the mandate. And so it's important for every minister to know their mandate and to work accordingly. That is what encounters do for you. And this is not speaking against inspiration. If you have a similar calling with someone else, he can inspire you to do greater things. But over and above that, it must be within the context of your mandate. The reason you find competition, restlessness, animosity, malice, gimmicks in church is because people don't know their mandate. If you know your mandate, it will bring you rest. If you know your mandate, it will bring you authority in your calling, accuracy in your delivery. But too many people don't know their mandate, and because they don't have encounters. They looked at what is raining. They started. When they now started, they discover they need wisdom. And because it was not a spirit that initiated it, they become stranded. So they shuffle things like a buffet. The second thing encounter will do for you in the protocol of the calling is that it will define your mandate. Abraham knew he had to come out and go to a land. Paul knew his ministry was to the Gentiles. He said Peter, James, and John were renowned among the Jews. He said he was sent to the Gentiles. In the days of Paul, Gentile ministry was not popular. In fact, they believed that God was not interested in Gentiles. But that was what God told him. And so eventually, he carried the gospel to the Gentiles. Everybody would have struggled to be relevant among their people, the Jewish people, because the Jewish man believed the calling is only for him. But God was sending somebody else to the Gentiles. This Gentile ministry, Paul will enter a city, sometimes they will stone him to death. But he still kept doing it. Because it was not about comfort, it was about mandate. Paul went to places, he was imprisoned. Paul went to places, he was flogged with 39 strokes. It would have been easy for him to say, "Come, how many times have they flogged Peter? I'd rather return to my people." He knew his mandate. And so he kept at it. The second thing encounters will do for you as touching your calling is to define your mandate. I'm saying this so that those of you who are ministers, it will register in your mind if these things are there. If they are not there, it means you have to go back to God. Because if you continue with what you are doing, after a while, you become fake. Time will make sure of that. Warfare will make sure of that. Circumstances will make sure of that. Principalities and powers will make sure of that. You can't have accuracy except as you have a mandate. You can't have rest in ministry except as you have a mandate. Your mandate is the jurisdiction of your calling. The third thing an encounter will do for you around calling and ordination is that encounters grant empowerment. As I am now, even me, I know that I will not dare go to a forest and buy a land. I know that one like I know my name. In fact, I will not plant the fellowship where I can't easily find buses to bring people. It takes authority from the mountain to come and buy a land in the forest like this one and turn it to a city. If you think it's pride, try it. They will pick your dead body from that forest if birds have not eaten you up. We are arrogant people. You see somebody doing something, you weigh his age. This person is 25. If he's doing this, I should do this. It's not age. There's difference between age in time and age in light. Age in light is based on authority. It's based on height, how high you have traveled. Every man prosecuting destiny with ease has a measure of authority given to him. And that authority, they don't pick it from the road. They catch it on the mountain of encounter. God himself delivers it to men. After Abraham had that encounter and God told him, "Indeed shall the nations of the earth be blessed," Abraham knew that no nation could conquer him because he had become the inheritor of nations. And so when Lot was arrested, the Bible said Abraham took 318 trained servants in his house to pursue after 4 kings. Sir, how can 318 servants, not warriors, be pursuing after 4 kingdoms with trained soldiers who are not just soldiers taken unawares, soldiers who prepared to come to war? Are you not sick? But the man knew that when he encountered God, God told him that all the nations, indeed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. So he knew he was a possessor of all the nations. And so Abraham, the Bible said, divided himself among them. And 318 men conquered 4 kingdoms with trained army, prepared for war. Hope you know that when Abraham was pursuing them, their morale was high, because they already came out of victory. They would have been mad with morale. Abraham selected servants, because with that encounter came empowerment and invincibility. There is an encounter you have that even if you carry stones, you will win your war. That's what Abraham carried. It is not tactical and it is not logical to carry servants to confront soldiers. Soldiers who are men of war. Because in those days, soldiers, they don't just engraft you at the latter stage of your life. When Goliath was to be defined, Saul told David, he said he was a man of war from his youth. When they check your stature and physique and see that you are fit for battle, they pick you from childhood and start training you. At least some of us here know about the Spartan warriors, that they train from the day they were born. So they are born warriors and they are also trained warriors. Fighting is all they do. Their joy is when they loot another nation. The spoils of war is what gives them joy. And then you carry servants. Servants with ears pierced. Servants who don't even have the confidence to walk where people are walking. You now carry them, give them bows and arrow to go and fight. It means something was happening beyond the arrow. It was later we discovered that these men fought from Zion. They didn't fight from earth, because eventually it became the pattern of the Israeli people. They learned it from Abraham. When Moses was fighting the Amalekites, he sat on the mountain, lifted up his hands, and so long as his hand was up, Joshua was winning. They fought with another technology. The Bible spoke about David. He will always consult with the Urim and the Thummim. And when he receives signal, even if he carries stones and pursue you, you are in trouble. But you can't have that level of authority unless you have encounter. There are certain men, God told them in their encounter, he said, you will never beg. When you see that man preaching and saying, nobody here can help us, don't be quick to repeat it. Yours will be an echo. Because that day you said it is the day the person that would have given you $1 million came for service. He will say, this is a proud person. I'll go and donate this money to an orphanage. You just sent your money away because you heard somebody with an encounter speak. You now came to echo it. An echo is never an original sound. What makes your utterance original is that you caught it on the mountain. Bishop Oedebo told us a story. He said he went to fast for 3 days and an angel appeared to him and touched his tongue and said, from today, I've touched your tongue with a coal of fire. As you say it, you will see it. He now traveled to the US to preach. And the white man came to him and said, what are the needs of your ministry? We want to bankroll it. He looked at him and said, our ministry have no needs. Even God knows I won't say that. Our ministry have no needs. Who says such a thing? I'm not saying in Nigeria or in the United States. Somebody came with a check, ready to sign any amount that you call a need. Our ministry has no needs. After a few years, it showed that it's not pride. It's authority. It's authority. People should motivate you, but speak from your encounters. Because there are certain things you say, you will reverse your destiny by 5 years. You will reverse your destiny. This era of picking things on social media and repeating them, you will be in trouble if you have no encounters. I went somewhere to preach some years ago, about 6 years ago now, also. When I saw the power of God moving, and I remembered a man was binding territorial powers. I have authority over demons. But I know it takes revelation and holy life to fight territorial spirits. Jesus said, the prince of this world cometh to me and findeth nothing. If they find something, you can't be lying and contending with territorial spirits. You will be shocked. You can't be fornicating and contending with territorial spirits. You can't be disobeying God and contending with territorial spirits. I remembered what the man said. And I said, I bind the prince of the powers of the air over this region. As I was going home, they wanted to weigh me. The front left tire exploded. I said, maybe I'm excited because of the power of God that moved and was speeding. I now changed the tire and put the spare tire and started driving slowly. It wasn't up to 5 minutes. This one also exploded, the same tire. I came down from the car. I said, Lord, have mercy. I've traveled beyond my revelation. Because your authority is within the boundary of your revelation. I've gone beyond my ordination. Father, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. He said, they that call upon the name of the Lord, they shall be saved. I call upon you now. Empowerment come from encounter. That's why you keep having encounters. Did you not read about Moses? He ran from Pharaoh, but God told him, return to Pharaoh. But when Moses was returning, he wasn't returning as the same Moses. Exodus chapter 4 verse 20, the Bible says Moses took the rod of God. The rod of Moses, please sit down. The rod of Moses became the rod of God. Exodus 7 verse 1, behold, I have made thee a God unto Pharaoh. He didn't become a God in a Bible school. Thank God for Bible school. They will teach you the ways of God. They will teach you doctrines. Teach you the oracles of God. But authority does not come from Bible school. It comes from encounters. Your rod will not change to a serpent in the Bible school. It will change on the mountain of encounters. And so when a man is walking, please don't weigh him by his size. Weigh him by his authority. Weigh him by his encounters. Many have no encounters. They think ministry is about men. Ministry is a politics of spirits. It's a game of spirits. You were only included. If you don't have the backing of God's spirit, you'll be shocked. I know new creation realities, brothers and sisters. I'm teaching you dynamics of warfare. Paul was teaching us in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 3 to 5 as touching demons. Say casting down. Casting. When he had casting. When he came to Ephesians 6:10, he said, finally, my brethren. This one is finally. The first thing he said, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. He said, put on the whole armor of God, wherewith you should be able to stand against all the wiles of the devil. The word strong and the word power and might there are three different words. You have endunamo, you have kratos, you have iskus. That's why you are contending with a prince. One is built out of revelation of who you are in Christ. Kratos is dynamic power. Now that you know who you are in Christ, you have to convert that potential through tongues so that you become volatile. And so if you are not a man of prayer, you enter a forest, say I'm born again. They will carry you from there. You need dynamic power to contend at a certain level. And the word iskus is synergistic power. It's called partnership. Christians don't know things. It's on encounter ground that these things will happen to you. And so there's an empowerment that encounters bring. Number 4, protocol that encounters will activate for you are strategies. Strategies. If you look at these 3 persons I called, Abraham's strategy was separation. Get thee out of thy country. Get thee out of thy kindred. Get thee out of thy father's house. That's not wise, mentally speaking. Because if you are in your country, at least you are a citizen. Your citizenship right gives you some immunity. If you are among your kindred, at least you have 1 or 2 people that will sympathize with you. And then if you are in your family, you have default followers. God now say, leave everything that is natural advantage. Lord, you want to start with me, and the first thing you want me to do is to become stranded. And as if it was not enough, the land he was being sent to, he was not told. He said, go to the land that will show you. So you are settled and established somewhere. God now say, come out and become a wanderer. And he started seeking for inheritance. Why don't you just establish me here? Is this not land? I thought land is soil. But there has to be a strategy given from encounter, so that God can be glorified. Moses' strategy was trust, obedience, and purging. Moses had to trust God to go back to the Pharaoh he ran from. And Moses had to obey God's commandment. And Moses also had to purge the children of Israel to be able to enter the inheritance. And see the way God told him. He said, when you get to your people, he said, as you are going, you will meet Aaron on your way. He will be your mouthpiece. Number 2, he said, when you go to Egypt, go to the elders first. Tell them what I've told you. He said, what if they doubt me? He gave him 3 signs. He said, now, after you have spoken to the elders, take Aaron and the elders and go to Pharaoh. If you don't have a strategy, you will go first to Pharaoh and say, I've met God. The outcome will be different. Even when God said, drop your staff, and he dropped it, he said, pick it by the tail. Because if you are not careful, the same power God gave you will kill you. Because if he picked it from the head, the serpent would have shown him that this is not drama. Pick it by the tail. When it has to do with destiny, specificity is too important. Destiny is not something you stumble on and say, this may work, that may work. Your life is lived once. Any casualty is forever and ever. The strategy that makes you effective in delivery of ministry is only encounter that will give you that strategy. And so when you find people asking questions about everything, they didn't meet God. It's ambition they are pursuing. It's not because they are not called, but perhaps they've not arrived Horeb. And thank God today is 40 days, because 40 is the journey to Horeb. Yes. Horeb is a 40 days journey. And so today, God will hit us strong. It will be heavy. It will be heavy. This night will be heavy. Horeb. We've come to Horeb. Many people, sir, the most confused set of people you will find are ministers. Because not many wait to hear God. They just see something, they jump into it by ambition. And they try to pacify themselves that it's the work of God. It's the work of God. No, there is a how to do the work of God. He said in 1 Timothy 3:15, he said, that you may know how to conduct yourself in the house of God, which is the ground and the pillar of truth. There is a how to operate in God's house. You don't just do things anyhow in God's house. He said to Moses, build according to the pattern that was revealed to you on the mount. Don't just build anything. I won't endorse it. When Noah was building the ark, he gave him lengths. Measure it. Don't just couple wood together and say, God said I should build a boat. How did he say you should build it? And so there are those who have received their ordination, but they've not received strategy. And they will not be patient enough to ask God to speak. They just jump out and start doing trial and error. And so before the strategy comes, they are already victims. God should have told you what to do. But you said, I saw God. God told me I'm supposed to start a prophetic ministry. Before the strategy came, you have borrowed money. They've already called you a thief. You've lost your integrity. And ministry runs on integrity. Meanwhile, if you have waited, God wanted to send you to Zarephath. There's a widow there to sustain you, but you didn't wait. That's why many ministers are in trouble. No strategy from Zion. That is working for A does not mean it will work for you. That is the funny thing about spirits. It's so strange. So strange. God commands one person, he does something. He didn't command another person. The person does it and dies. And then you are wondering, why? He created every one of us to have a personal relationship with him. And so strategies are formulated. Paul's strategy is discipleship and church planting. The first apostles sat in Jerusalem. Church became big. They say, ordain deacons. Let's manage ourselves. Paul said no. The one God told Paul is, go to this city, start a church. Leave it, go to the next city, start a church, ordain elders. All of them, apostles of Jesus, strategies different. And so when you don't have a strategy, you can't be effective. Your productivity is tied to your strategy. This is why many people are doing something for many years, and their ego won't let them accept it. They tell you, this small place we have been, this is how we have been for 30 years. There's no divine strategy. The moment God starts giving strategies, productivity becomes natural. Because productivity is tied to strategies. And this is not something you copied from a business school. This is something downloaded from Zion. It's encounters that will bring it. And finally, before I talked about the final one, two things that strategy does for you is that it makes you invincible. Because if you are doing it how God says to do it, the devil can't trap you. And then the second thing strategy does is that it keeps God in charge. Because he's the one giving the directives. That's why you will never hear a man of God say, my ministry, my church. Because it's God. God is the boss. God is the one running it. So strategy makes you invincible. And strategy also keeps God in charge. And then finally, you have your location, or what we call divine allocation. Everybody God sends who has an encounter with God as touching ministry knows exactly where God sent him. Location is not something where you are choosing. If you try that, you'll become Lot. Lot is the only one that looked at the plains of Sodom and Gomorrah and saw that it was green. When he chose it, he returned with only himself and 2 daughters. You don't choose ministry location by what suits you or what seems positive. Even marriage, or people enter marriage, they will weigh the person and guess his bank account. Because he's wearing a tuxedo suit. When you get married, you'll be shocked. He's a model. They are giving him to wear it so that the suit will be bought. There's no dime in that account. And because you two are a treacherous person, God will allow you to... My goodness. Don't choose Sodom because the plain is green. There are homosexuals there and you don't have the grace to contend them. But when time came for Abraham, he said, lift up thy eyes. See the way God responds. He said, look round about you. Everything you see, I've given you. Including Sodom. That's why Lot was in Sodom. It's Abraham that saved him. It doesn't have to be in Sodom to save Sodom. How can you be in your own house? Somebody else is coming to save you. Because that one, he lifted up his eyes. Lot saw the plains of Sodom. Abraham saw the heights of heaven. That's what encounters do for you. As you start having encounters, God will tell you where to go. And if God tells you where to go, even if there's no food there, ravens will bring bread. Have you taken time to contemplate it? Where were they baking bread in those days? A time of famine. And even if anyone was able to bake bread, it will be the scarcest commodity. How can a bird come to find it and then take it every day for 2 years? Meanwhile, record has it that ravens are the most stingy birds. So if a raven labors to find bread, that raven knows what to do with it. It will eat it. But if God is the one that gave you that location, he said, your sons and your daughters shall come from afar. Strangers will stand to build your walls. If God is the one that told you to stay here, even if Ghanaians refuse to partner, God will send men from America to partner. That's how it works. Encounters. Sit down. I don't want to go to be high. Look at Abraham. Genesis 12:2. It says, go to the land that I will show you. God is the one that gives location. Location is not a product of human calculations or ingenuity. Exodus 3 verse 9 and 10. It said to Moses, go to Egypt. Acts 22 verse 21. It said to Paul, go to the Gentiles. You wonder why they were so effective in ministry? These 5 things were in place. The calling was activated by God. The mandate was well defined. The empowerment was given. The strategy was spelled out. And the location was also stated. If you have these 5 things, which only encounter can furnish, even if hair breaks loose, you will succeed. In fact, the more they attack you, the faster you will succeed. It is men who have this qualification that warfare becomes a fuel for progress. And when men fight you, they wasted their time. Because nothing under heaven can stop you. The only thing that will stop you if you allow these things to happen by encounters is yourself. Because if God gives you this, God himself won't stop you. And no devil from anywhere will have the power to stop you. And so the first thing about the excellency of an encounter is that it activates ordination and it defines its protocol.
Welcome to Anagkazwatch TV. Anagkazwatch TV be a great team and work on life transforming messages that will bring you into realms of divine encounter with the world of truth. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share our videos. God bless you.